Well, hello everyone. I am Patty Davidson, and of course, I am here to teach you how to bet money, honey. But today, I have the privilege of having on our podcast Scott Schettler. Scott Schettler is a race and sportsbook extraordinaire director of the infamous Stardust Hotel and Casino. And you're going to find out why that was so infamous in a bit. We're going to talk about a little bit about what sports betting was like during that time when there was, I always say, no computers. Everything was just run by the humans in the room. And Scott has so many stories, and we're going to go into a little bit about what was life like whenever you basically had a clipboard and you just went, need money here, and you get on a microphone and they would open a door and actually physically change the lines. But also, Scott's going to bring to us a little bit about the colorful clientele of the Stardust, which was great. You know, Scott was just really kind of a, just somebody that came up with new ideas, and that's why we were so busy, because you would put up new ideas. But Scott, tell us a little bit about you.
First of all, I know where most of the cans and bodies are buried around here, But I came from Western Pennsylvania, and I was a teenage bookmaker back then. When I got here to Las Vegas, all they had to do was plug me in. I was ready to go. I knew. Back then, we figured everything by hand. My first job was in Churchill Downs, which is now Bulldoze, and we wrote.
And that would not be the racetrack. That is Churchill Downs.
That's Churchill Downs Sportsbook.
Sportsbook, right?
On the south end of the strip. It's gone now. It's bulldozed. It's not the one in Louisville. And we did everything by hand. You had to know the odds. You had to know what time the game started. You had to know all the line changes. You had to have everything in your head, and you wrote the ticket by hand. Okay, so you had to write the correct odds. You couldn't ask the customer what the odds are.
They would love to make those up for you.
Yeah, but you had to know everything. You had to actually know what you were doing. Nowadays, all it is it's like working at McDonald's. You just give me number 2, and you put number 2 in the computer.
Yeah.
But we actually had to know what we're doing, and if we didn't, they'd have carried us out.
I kind of remember it was like almost like a machine, and you had 3 copies, right?
Yeah, there was a machine. I think there was 4 copies. The gaming board got 1. We got 1 to grade. The customer got 1, and 1 went to booking. Yeah, there was 4 customers. Yeah, 4 copies. Yeah, and the gaming board went into a lockbox below, which I don't think they ever checked it. At that time, who checked? But and then you had to grade them you had to check grade them, correct them by hand too.
Every night?
Every night. If there's big stack of tickets, you had to sit there till 2, 3 in the morning, and
Win-loss.
Win-loss, but you had to figure the parlays.
Yeah.
There was no computer to do it for you. You had to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's when we knew math.
Yeah, you had to know. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, you had to be able to count to 3. Yeah. So when we were writing the tickets, if it was a parlay, we tried to make what we call a fit. In other words, if there's 3 teams, all different odds, you try and make the first team so that you know what the odds are right at the top of your head, so you can just blend it in with the second team. You call it a fit. In other words, starting from scratch and doing 3 teams. No, we only had to do 2 because we correlated the first odds with the second team. In other words, if the first part of your parlay is minus $1.20, $1.20, we would make the parlay for 120, so that it just goes right in. The customers weren't dumbbells; they accepted that. You know what I mean? The customers were, in those days, they were half smart. So they accepted that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Called it a fit. Anyways, so then in the morning you bring the tickets in by hand. Can you imagine taking tickets at home to check them? Nowadays they have you in jail.
Yeah.
But we took the tickets home, checked them at home, brought them in the morning, and started paying out. And you paid out by hand. It wasn't the guy comes up and hands you a ticket and you put it in a computer. It says pay $98. We had to do it by hand.
Yeah.
So there was no chance for error. Once it's gone, it's gone.
It's like being at the bank or anywhere. I give out the wrong change. It's just too bad
gone.
for you.
Yeah, it's history.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, there was the very first girl that ever worked in a sports book was called Signe Nurden. She was smart. She was a sharp girl. But she was a cashier. And we did her and I, side by side, 2 different windows. I was the boss at the time, and I wasn't allowed to do it, but I paid out.
Yeah.
We paid out like $1.5 million, and we were 20 cents short. Cash.
Yeah.
Live tickets.
Yeah.
These were live tickets. They weren't pre-graded.
Right.
In other words, the game was just over. Guy gives you a live ticket before it's graded. So you had to sit there off the top of your head and figure it out. And we were 20 cents short. So
You say, not bad. I'll
Yeah,
just take
so-
it out of my pocket and put it in there
yeah,
at 20 cents.
So that's the difference between those days and now.
Yes.
You know? And you had to know when the game started. In other words, now the computer locks the game out when
Right,
it starts.
right.
Then you had to look at the clock and know when the game started, because somebody would definitely pass post you. You know what I mean?
So, did you ever have any larceny going on?
No.
No?
Are you kidding? All that money? No.
Anybody ever try to write the ticket after
Oh yeah,
it went?
there's all kind of scams. All
Yeah.
kind of scams. The employees would try and scam you. The customers would try and scam you. We tried. I guess I can say it. We tried to scam the gaming board. It was all a big scam.
Yeah.
You know.
Because
So-
no real records, right?
No, there was no. Well, there was records, but
But-
nobody looked at them.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So. Yeah, I remember we used to keep a schedule in our back pocket with the times of the games. And I remember a customer one day asked me, "Can I look at your schedule for a second? I want to see the changes." And I'd give him the schedule. He changed the time of the game. He'd give it back to me. Smart, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And then he wanted to bet that game. I said, no.
Yeah,
You know.
like a lot of regulars, or how about when strangers came into town with tons of money? Because it was also an era where
Yeah.
there was no banking regulation, right?
No, there was no banking regulation. At the Churchill was the very first. It was a big book, Churchill Downs. It was the top betting establishment in the country, and the odds come out of there. With Bob Martin made the odds.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Bob
Yes,
Martin
I
made-
remember now.
Bob Martin made the odds at Churchill, and he was the absolute guru, king of
Yeah.
odds making. No questions. And yeah, he would take about anything. He didn't care, you know. But we at the start.
And when you say take about everything, what does that mean?
That means somebody could come in and bet what they wanted to. In other
Yeah.
words, if they wanted to bet, say, 20,000, then we would take it.
If they bought in that suitcase of money,
Yeah.
it'd be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, but that was at Churchill. When I got to the Stardust, they were taking big money too, but they wanted, the Stardust is bulldozed now, so nothing I say can get
Yeah,
anybody in trouble.
that's right.
It's not even here. It's gone. And the statute of limitations is up.
That's
anyways. So the Stardust tried to get as much money as they could, win or lose. That made no difference to them because they just wanted to take a little bit off the top. You know what I mean?
I
That
do,
was the
yeah.
famous skim.
I see.
That's the famous, everybody in the country knows about, except maybe, everybody knows about the Stardust skim, so it's no secret. But
Well,
they,
not everybody does, so
well, they tried to get, say they got $1 million, they would count maybe 900,000 of it, and the rest of it would go in their pocket without recording it. Okay, so, but then when I took over the Stardust, I remember the first year, the people I worked for weren't the smartest people in the world. The people that bought the Stardust, the gaming board put them in, the Boyds. Gaming board put them in to oversee, because they threw the old group out because they were,
skimming.
half the money went to Chicago and Kansas City. So when I got there, I counted all the money. I give them first count, which is that's a saying. You got first count. In other words, you got the correct count. And they says, "Boy, look what he did. He doubled the business in 1 year." Well, I didn't double the business. I just counted all the money. I mean,
I see.
they weren't the smartest people in the world. I just counted all the money. You know.
It wasn't going out the back door
No,
or
you know.
down that extra little slot over
Yeah,
here or
so-
somewhere.
I said, "Yeah, boy, I just did a good job, didn't I?" So, anyways, Yeah. So, but anyways, when you talk about big bets, I come from the old bookmaking school from back east, Pittsburgh and Youngstown, Ohio.
Well,
And
can I just back up for a second?
Yeah.
How did you become a teenage bookkeeper? I mean, bookie. How does that even happen? Did you have like aunt, uncles, or somebody in the family, or what was it?
Yeah. Back then, in that area, steel mills, coal mines, hardworking guys, and especially football was a big, huge thing. High school football,
Yeah.
you could bet thousands on high school football.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But football was a big, big thing, betting, and they also we had sports books, right? It's against the law, but especially like West Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia, you could win yours a sports book. They rate you a ticket. It's like ordering an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
You could actually get a ticket, just like a sports book, and nobody paid any attention.
Yeah.
But I had a job. I worked for a couple of bookmakers, and they had a pool room, and I was in high school, and I would hustle parlay cards. I would go to Youngstown and get the parlay cards, bring them back, and I would hustle my own. I was a barber at the time, and the customers would come in, the sports bettors would come in, fill out their parlay card, and put it in the mailbox. And then at night, I'd get down and empty the mailbox. That was a teenager.
Yeah.
And then I started taking small bets on the phone, real small, maybe $50 maximum. I didn't have that much money, so I started taking small bets. But the area I came from, everybody gambled. The ladies, they all played numbers. They all played the number. Everybody gambled. Mothers, grandmothers, everybody. It was in our DNA, and especially football. Especially football.
Right.
Football was king,
Yes.
and basketball, but in that area. And they also had like casinos, with crap tables, blackjack tables.
Kind of like poker, and just so they didn't have
Yeah.
slot machines, they just
Slot
had everything
machines,
else, did they?
yeah.
Wow.
Roulette wheel, and we had a game called Barboot. It was a big thing. It was a Greek game, Barboot. It was something like craps, but that was big in Youngstown, Barboot. But so that's how I learned, and I was.
It was how you grew up.
Yeah, what I'm most proud of in my whole career, I went away. The state figured I should go away somewhere. Okay, I was in the can, so I actually ran a book in there. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. I mean, if I didn't have the money to pay, it's too bad. I probably wouldn't be here now. But I actually ran a book.
And that was your money to Vegas?
No. We bet soap and cigarettes.
Oh.
There was no money. You understand what I'm talking about?
I see now. I see.
Yeah,
That's
it
how you
wasn't-
existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, in jail. It was
Right,
yeah.
right,
So
yeah.
there was no money involved because we had
Yeah,
no money. We
right.
bet soap and cigarettes.
Yeah.
But I actually ran a book, made my own odds. With no help. And
Hey, we're just going to say you were born to do this.
I gravitated towards this.
Yeah.
When I came to Vegas, I came with the idea of betting sports, not booking, betting. And I'll be the first to tell you, I didn't know what the hell I was doing betting. I couldn't win if I knew the game was over. I'd probably picked the wrong side. But I wasn't a very successful bettor. But so I jumped on the other side of the counter and started booking. So. I mean, that's what I said. They just had to plug me in. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
There was no breaking me in or,
And so when you went to Churchill, were you you ticket writer, I'm sure?
I was a ticket writer and a board man. We did the boards, the odds boards, did them by hand with chalk on a chalkboard. Yeah. So I had to come in every morning, clean the boards off, oil them, wipe the oil off, and write the teams in by hand, the times. And then we opened up, and then from
Moved
then on,
them as they went, yes.
from then on, I wrote tickets, and answered the phone. We all had our own phone, right on the counter.
So at that point, you were taking phone bets?
No,
No.
but we had phones.
Yeah.
It was a courtesy of the customers. Scores, odds.
Really?
Yeah, injuries.
Huh.
Yeah. So I had 3 or 4 of my own customers that when there was a big injury or a big change in the line movement, I would call them. And every one of them thought I was the first one they called, you know. Yeah, you're first. You know it before anybody, you know. They all thought they were the first, you know. And they all took care of you, you know.
Yeah.
They all tipped you, you know.
Right.
So
I mean, if I remember correctly, there would be like a lot of rumors going around.
Oh yeah.
And so give us
Yeah.
some good rumors or some consistent ones or.
Oh, there was a lot of rumors. In other words, everybody was trying to. Back then, information meant something.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's
Right.
it's computer spits out. But back then, information meant something. If you knew Joe Blow broke his arm, it meant something. Nobody knew it but you and Joe Blow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Inside information, kind
it
of.
actually was inside information.
If
you
it
know.
was real.
Yeah. Now everybody knows. It's all
Yeah.
over ESPN. It's everywhere.
Right.
You know.
But
so-
if I remember a little bit, it would be like, oh my goodness, this whole basketball team was traveling, and guess what? They have a flat tire. They're not going to make it, and their bus fell over.
Well,
Things like that.
The game would be canceled in that case.
But it would be.
But if their star player
Yeah.
fell off the bus and got run over,
Right,
that would mean something.
Yeah, that means something, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
remember, you know, because it was a different time.
Yep, and people just were thirsty for that information, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So
The phone part is interesting. I noticed that you did not bring that to the Stardust with you.
what's that?
The phone call that I could call my customers.
No, then you couldn't have a phone.
No, by that time.
No, in the Stardust, you couldn't even have a cell phone.
Yeah.
You couldn't have. In fact, the phones in the pit couldn't be where they could see the board. They were so afraid that somebody was going to call the line out.
Yeah.
No.
Why do you think that is?
Why, on whose part? The gaming board or the bettors or what?
Well, to me, it's a little bit because the numbers were so volatile that you could have had somebody come in and run your number so far up.
Well, they did, yeah.
Yeah, and so
But-
they didn't want what do you call them? Runners to know, or bettors, or no?
The gaming board, they were so paranoid. They thought that everybody behind every potted plant there was a criminal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they thought that if you got on the phone and called somebody, you were calling an illegal bookie. And in Las Vegas, you couldn't know me. It was just.
Do you think that was just for the Stardust, or was that
No,
just
that was
a fallout
that was a
from the
regulation.
Stardust?
Yeah, that was a regulation.
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
So
let's go into characters. Tell us some good.
Before you get into the phones, remember the phone room we had?
Yes. Yeah.
So I figured out we couldn't call, so you couldn't have a phone where you could see the board.
Right.
In other words, you couldn't carry a cell phone
Yeah.
in because you could see the boards,
Right.
the odds. When I say board, I mean the odds. So I got this old porter's room, and I got permission. We turned it into a phone room. We put 5 phones on the wall like this, and on the other side was a sports ball.
Right.
You couldn't see the
You couldn't
boards.
see- I remember,
and
yeah.
it just drove the gaming board crazy because it was under the regulations. You couldn't see the boards.
Yeah.
But we had 5 free phones.
Yes.
And it just drove them nuts. They just couldn't wrap their head around it. That you know.
You followed regulation, but
Yeah.
you got around it
Yeah,
somehow.
we drove them crazy. Anyway, what you asked me, Patty?
Well, I kind of for sure want to go into some of your stories about just things, you know, people. I think it was just like a different. Again, we go back to a different kind of an era because
was,
you
yeah.
really had to interact with the people who were taking your bets.
Yeah.
You had to interact, and I know you had regulars,
Yeah.
and even the regulars knew each other because it wasn't like, you know, you could sit at home on your computer or your phone app or anything and watch numbers to move or anything, and so they all. The number one thing I will never forget is how they had to draw cards. You know.
Oh, that's in the morning?
You know, because that was an incident in itself.
Yeah, we had so much business that we couldn't handle it. First of all, the reason we had so much business was because I made our limits. By that I mean the money we took on each game.
The maximum.
The maximum you could bet at once. I kept it small purposely because I wanted all the numbers to just keep changing. So every time we got a limit bet, we changed the odds. So some days we'd have maybe 500, 600, 700 changes. and it just went back and forth and back and forth. And these guys, they couldn't leave the star. That's because they were afraid that the
number would change.
The odds that they were looking for would
Right,
change.
yeah.
They were captive. They had to stay there.
Right.
You know, so that's why in the morning we had so much business that we didn't know what to do. They started to pay guys, bums off the street, $5 an hour to come and stand in front of the window,
Yeah.
so they could come in the next morning and take his place.
Yeah.
You know, they were paying these guys to stand there all night,
Right.
$5 an hour.
Yeah.
So I remember one night, one of the guys had to go to the bathroom. He's standing there.
Oh.
He's standing
No.
there. He's in his spot. And these dumbbells, they all went in a line like ducks. They were afraid to give up their spot. So they all followed this guy into the restroom. Like a line of people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's, it's because nobody wanted to give their spot up.
Right.
If you got out, you lost your spot.
So they had a deal going on. Let's just keep it.
Yeah, just keep your spot. We'll all go
Tomorrow night, if it's you, we'll do the
we'll
same
all
thing.
go to the bathroom.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yeah. So then I got tired of looking at these guys. I said, well, what are we going to do? So then we decided to put up stanchions, I guess you call it. You know, the
little red things.
And they did that. They just took them and threw them away. You know, the customers. You know.
Yeah.
And then we made it so that they couldn't go past the chairs. It was like a 10-yard dash. You know. So then we had to figure out. So then we come up with the idea to draw cards. We had what we called a lottery. You had to reserve a place. It's like going in the butcher shop and getting a number.
Right.
You know, all right, number 6. So we had a sheet. You sign up. It made no difference where you signed. And then we drew cards, and each card corresponded to a number on that sheet. And that's how, you know, Sam Brown, you're number 1 at window 1. Joe Blow, you're number 1 at window 2.
Right.
Just like going to the butcher shop. It's
Yeah.
the only way we
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah.
There was just too much business.
Yes.
You were there.
I was.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were the only girl, woman, female that could actually. I actually felt comfortable. You could actually open up the place and run it.
Yes.
You know, and there was a lot of tough guys, a lot of wise guys, and they all respected you. There was no problems. You know, maybe Pete White was. He might have been the only one to give you a problem.
But he didn't respect anybody.
No.
He was Pete White.
He was completely out of his mind. Anyways, but I could sit at home and I could have the numbers ready, the odds, and I could call them to you, and you could go open up, and you could handle all these guys. And there's no other female I know that can do that. They have female supervisors, but they're just eyewash. All they do is, you know, they're like secretaries. They're programmed, and it's all computerized. They don't make decisions.
No.
They don't make decisions. It's all computerized. But you actually had to make a decision. You had to actually keep track of the money by hand.
Right.
And know how much was
Yeah.
on it. Called a chart. Write the money down, and as soon as you get to a certain number, you change the odds. And it was a tough
Keep the
job,
balance.
and you did
Yeah.
it. You know, you're the only, and still the only
That's-
one I know that could handle that.
That's right. Now you have to say you are my mentor. You gave me that opportunity, which is
Well,
amazing during that time of time
Oh,
for
are you
women.
kidding me?
Oh my
Yeah.
heavens! Yeah, it was. So
There wasn't that many girls even come in
No.
the books.
no.
You know.
No.
I remember Churchill. There's never. If you ever saw a girl in the book, you say, "Oh
That's
my God, what the hell is she doing?" You know.
Yeah, she must have just bought money.
Yeah, we had two
know.
girls that come in Churchill. One. No, I don't even want to get into that. Anyways.
We just say that Vegas is colorful, and it always will be. That
the
is
one
for
girl,
sure.
her nickname
Yeah.
was Cement because she was built like a brick shit house. But other than that, then there was another girl, Susie Wong. Anyways, that's another story. But so we kept the limits reasonable. I knew what our customers, what they would bet. Maybe we kept it like pro football during the week would be like 10,000 maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of these books nowadays, they say, "Oh, we took 100,000 on Arizona." Well, big deal. Now you got to win it, you know.
Well, you got to win it or even it, yeah. One
Yeah,
or the
but
other.
how are you going to even 100,000?
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
a couple thousand a crack.
Yeah.
So I kept it so that, you know, we could get money on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what we could handle, and the line would move a little bit, and it would run a little bit, and change 2 or 3 points,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'd get to the point, and then wise guys would come in and take the money back the other way, you know.
And wait till game time. And
Yeah.
go, hey, you need to be evened out a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. We had customers like Spinner and different customers
Mm-hmm.
that we knew that we could give them, you know, a certain amount at the old odds that we need.
Yeah, it's like, you know, bargaining a little bit just to, and maybe, you know, people don't understand what evening it is, but
Yeah.
it really is. You never want to be in a situation where you could lose, like you say,
Like you have to
especially
win the
back
game,
then,
yeah.
100,000 in that game. Like you're rooting for the game because guess what? Betting is not as easy as it looks, but you know what? You just keep it fun. But no, if you got 100,000, 300,000 on a game
Yeah.
as the book, phew, that next day with accounting is not going to be fun.
No, but I mean that's what we did was we booked the old-fashioned way, the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's not brain surgery. You just
back and forth.
You put up a good number,
Right.
a good money,
Yeah.
a good odds that you think you can get money on both sides. And the secret is you got to take the first bet. Once you take the first bet,
Yeah.
you're on your way.
Yeah, you see where it's going?
Yep. Take your first
That's
bet, and
Yeah.
then from then on, it's just
Yeah.
a matter of doing your job. You know.
I think it's interesting right now, you know, I don't want to get into this too much, but it's so interesting that because of, you know, going into artificial intelligence and computers and everything, the numbers become so close. It's almost like it's not even fun anymore.
Yeah, it's the last bet bash I had. I was sitting on a panel with a bunch of other nerds, and these guys are all computer wizards, and
Right.
they've got things figured to the millionth of a whatever the hell they do. I don't know,
Yes.
but it's so sterile. It's just so
exactly.
sterile. It's not even
Exactly.
fun.
Let's move into a little bit because you know that people did have to hang out in the sports and the
Yeah.
race book. They hung out where they couldn't go. Numbers
Yeah.
were moving too fast, right? And
Yeah.
so everybody kind of got to know we'll call their favorites.
Yeah.
And you know, coming to mind, I think just tell us maybe about one that really, really comes to mind and why.